Hello everybody, and welcome to Ancient Architects. Please subscribe now to get the latest ancient history news and independent research from around the world. In part 1 of this two-part special, I looked at the lost tower of Letopolis, which not only stood as an astronomical marker for the constellation of Ursa Major, also known as the Plough, but was also the site of an ancient observatory where famous astronomers such as Eudoxus learned the secrets of the stars from ancient Egyptian priests. The tower at Letopolis was situated precisely 100 stadium due north of the Great Pyramid. When you stood at the Giza Plateau, you could see Ursa Major directly above Letopolis, and when at Letopolis looking south, you could see the constellation of Orion directly above the pyramids, which many believe were built to mimic Orion's belt. Precisely 100 stadium due east of the Letopolis tower was the important and ancient Great Temple of Heliopolis. Giza, Letopolis and Heliopolis therefore form a perfect Pythagorean triangle, and this was certainly not by accident. In this video, we'll be taking a closer look at ancient Heliopolis, which was a major city of ancient Egypt with foundations going way back into pre-dynastic times, before the unification of Upper and Lower Egypt around 3100 BC. It was the capital of the 13th or Heliopolite nome of Lower Egypt, and was a major centre for religion and learning. Today, it is located in Ain Shams, a northeastern suburb of Cairo. It is without question one of the oldest cities of ancient Egypt, and greatly expanded in the Old and Middle Kingdoms. Today, very little remains, as its temples and buildings have been scavenged for the construction of medieval Cairo. That said, we do know a great deal thanks to surviving records. What does survive of Heliopolis though is the obelisk of the Temple of Ra-Atum, erected by Senusret I of the 12th dynasty. Standing 69 feet high, made of red granite and weighing 120 tons, it still stands in its original position. Several of the obelisks in Rome originated from Heliopolis, as did both of Cleopatra's Needles in London and New York. Heliopolis is of course the Greek name for the city, and it means the city of the sun, as the city was home to the principal cult of the Egyptian sun god Atum, who came to be identified with Ra and then Horus. The ancient Egyptian name for the city was Iunu, which means the pillars, and it appears in the Bible as the city of On. In the Old Kingdom pyramid texts, it is referred to as the House of Ra. The primary temple of the city was known as the Great House or House of Atum, and its priests maintained that Atum and then Ra was the first being rising and self-creating from the primeval waters, something which probably refers to the returning of the sun after whatever event caused the Great Flood of the Younger Dryas, possibly an impact event as I have discussed before, or maybe a giant coronal mass ejection from the sun as proposed by Robert Schoch. Some believe that Heliopolis is the location of the ancient Egyptian primordial mound, also known as the Benben or Mound of Creation, whilst others believe it is located at Giza, with the natural hill of Gebel Gibli being the number one contender for its physical location. But the importance of Heliopolis is without question, and not just in written record, but also because of a number of architectural observations, first noted by researcher Hans Godik and published in newspapers and journals in 1983. He noticed that there was a common constructional element at several Egyptian necropolises, with one corner of each structure often being on a straight line with the same corner of other structures in the same necropolis. Each of these straight lines point directly towards ancient Heliopolis, as you can see on these diagrams. These alignments are found with the Giza pyramids, using the southeastern corners of the Great Pyramid, Khafre Pyramid, and that of Menkaure. It is also seen at Abu Sir, using the northwest corners of the pyramids of Sahur, Neferekeh, and Neferefre. And also at Saqqara, using the southeastern corners of the Sekhemkhet, Doja, Usakaf and Teti pyramids. So why are these structures all pointing towards Heliopolis? Well, the exact origins of the city are sadly lost to time, but the fact that it is included in the ancient Egyptian creation myth shows that the importance of this city extends way back into pre-dynastic times. There have been excavations in the area which have unearthed its prehistoric roots, and there is also an old cemetery dating back to the pre-dynastic Naqada II culture, the same culture from which the dynastic Egyptian rulers originated. In Old Kingdom times, the High Priest of Heliopolis was known as the Chief of Observers, which indicates that the city was a centre of astronomy. By the Middle Kingdom, it had become the centre for the cult of Amun-Ra following the association of Atum and Ra. Donation lists from the time of Ramesses II indicate that the temple at Heliopolis was second only to that of Amun at Thebes. As discussed in my previous video, Heliopolis along with Giza and Letopolis form a perfect Pythagorean triangle. From Letopolis, Heliopolis lies across the Nile, some 18 kilometres away due east. From Letopolis, which we identified as the main observatory in ancient Egypt, Orion would be seen above the Giza pyramids, but would there have been a constellation above Heliopolis? There is a fortuitous inscription that refers to the stretching of the cord ceremony that may give us a clue. It says, "The king has built the Great Temple of Ra-Horakhti, in conformity with the horizon which bears its disk. The cord was stretched by His Majesty himself, having held the rod in his hand with Sheshat." Could the Great Temple of Ra-Horakhti, a name applied specifically to the Great Temple of Heliopolis, have represented a prominent constellation that coalesced with the sun disk in the eastern horizon at dawn? Egyptologist Richard Wilkinson said that an important mythological aspect of the solar god in the heavens is found in his identity as a cosmic lion. He is of the opinion that the Leo constellation was directly associated with the sun god. Horakhti means Horus of the horizons, and coalesced with Ra implies the sun on the horizon, the morning sun. Ra-Horakhti was symbolic of the rising sun in the east. This is confirmed by the pyramid texts, which refer to the rising of Ra-Horakhti in the eastern side of the sky, the place where the gods are born. Egyptologists also agree that an important mythological aspect of the sun god, especially at sunrise and sunset, was that of the cosmic lion. Ian Shaw and Paul Nicholson pointed out in their research that in Egypt, lions characteristically lived on the desert margins, and so they became to be considered as the guardians of the eastern and western horizons, the places of sunrise and sunset. In this respect, they sometimes replaced the eastern and western mountains on either side of the horizon hieroglyph known as Akhet. Since the sun itself could be represented as a lion, chapter 62 of the Book of the Dead states, "May I be granted power over the waters, for I am he who crosses the sky. I am the lion of Ra." Akhet means both the horizon and the flood season, and at this time of year, the constellation of Leo was seen rising at dawn in the eastern horizon. The sun was in Leo. Therefore, the solar lion of the ancient Egyptians could well be equated to the constellation of Leo. Author Robert Bauval strongly believes that the solar lion in ancient Egyptian texts and depicted on their astronomical drawings was in fact the constellation of Leo. So, maybe the Great Temple of the Sun God at Heliopolis was in fact representing Leo, the house of the rising sun as viewed from Egypt's Great Observatory at Letopolis in the west, just as Giza represented Orion in the south. On this subject there is so much more to learn, and I would urge everybody to read Robert Bauval's fantastic book The Egypt Code to find out more. Many famous historians have made records of Heliopolis, including the so-called grandfather of history, Herodotus. He states that the priests of Heliopolis were best informed in the matters of the history of Egypt. During the Greek period, Heliopolis flourished as a seat of learning, with schools of astronomy and philosophy being frequented by the likes of Orpheus, Pythagoras, Plato, Homer and Solon, to name a few. Sadly, the great city was largely destroyed in the Persian invasion in 525 BC, and when Alexandria was founded in 332 BC, the city lost its significance. Old monuments were plundered, and as stated, the remains were used as a quarry to build medieval Cairo and other projects. When Strabo visited Heliopolis in the 1st century BC, he found it almost deserted. A sad end to what was once arguably the world's most important ancient city. Thank you very much for watching this episode of Ancient Architects. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel, please like the video, and please leave a comment below. Thank you very much.